On the 30th of September, I deliver this painting of a farmer on his tractor to that farmer. And on that day, the chap in the neighbouring field asked me to paint two paintings. One of him and his dogs, the other of him and his farming assistant. One of those pictures took me 3 days to complete. The other took me 3 months. This video, I'm going to tell you why that is. I once described painting to someone as an ordeal, and that may sound like a bit of an over-exaggeration, but it can feel like that. Not every time, but initially it's a real struggle and a hump to get over in order to start a painting. And then once you've started the painting, to take that extra step the next day or later on in the day and waiting for each layer to dry really does take a lot of effort and exerted effort to try to get over the inclination to just leave it. I just didn't want to touch the painting after a while. I think I didn't have the vision of how to continue, and I didn't like the idea that I was locked into making commitments every time I would do a session. A lot of the piece is a series of compromises that I had to make in order to finish the piece and move on to the next one. I had a second painting to do, but it took me a long time. I'd commit to trying to bring out the sky, and every time I paint in the sky, it'd be too dark and blotchy. And so I'd pull it back and I'd try to water it down and pull it back again so that it was softer and softer. And eventually it just became this patchwork of grey clouds. And I had this vision of purples and blues and reds in the sky, and none of that came out. But it was a step of the process that had to be taken in order for the painting to be finished. I would paint for an hour and I'd do a certain amount and I'd film it, and then I'd look at the footage and I'd edit the footage, and then I would charge my phone and I'd put the painting aside. It just takes so long to do any successful level of finish to the piece. I was really up against it, where it was then the 20th of December and I'd just finished it. And it wasn't even finished, but I thought, this is it, it's done. I'm going to put it in a frame, it's done. I put it in a frame, and then I started the next painting. And I knew I had to really be quick with this next painting. So all of the levels of finish had to be worked out before I started. And I looked at the reference image and I did the drawing on the piece of paper, and I thought, if I can just block out a certain amount of the background, then that's a lot of it covered. And I just need to pick away at these pieces in the foreground then. And it's literally just get the lightest colour in there, wait for that to dry, and then start layering up the darker shades. Bits of shadow, bits of detail. And then block out the rest with dark patches. And that all came together for the 23rd, where I could then frame up the second piece and deliver them to the farmer. But what actually happened was I finished the second painting and then realised that the first painting wasn't quite finished. It was just a little bit too soft and loose in certain places. It's all just a bit flat and not considered or rendered at all. So I knew I had to do bits like that. I had to get little bits of darker tones here and there and just little touches. Sometimes it was, I think it was in the corner of the peak of his cap. I just needed to do the little shadow parts darker in the corner and the edges. Things just needed to be done before I could say these are now almost equal or pretty much equivalent, so that I could frame them up and deliver them. And then the frames were different. I'd bought white frames, and I'd bought brown frames, and they looked better in white frames, so they were reframed. I must admit the difference between the two was that I dragged my feet so much with the first painting, so reluctant to do any finish on any aspect of the first painting, that I had to go into high gear for the second. It became easier, but I haven't done a watercolour painting since. I haven't done a piece of artwork this year, actually. I've edited videos, but I've not drawn or painted anything. So that needs to be done. So anyway, these paintings were from late last year, and I have a couple more videos that I need to edit and upload from things that I did last year, but it was pretty recent, and I'll soon be making new stuff. What I'm planning on doing is using my new camera to film things. I'm still using my phone to film these videos, so my intention is to now switch over to better quality video and audio as well. I've also purchased microphones. I now have a green screen, so I'm going to try and change up the production of the videos. So I'm looking forward to that.